You know, every so often, a company has a year that just goes down in the history books. Well, for Wheaton Precious Metals, 2025 was that year. They didn't just break records, they absolutely shattered them. So we're going to break down exactly how they pulled it off, and believe me, it all starts with one truly massive number.
Okay, let's just put the headline number right out there. $2.3 billion. That's what we're talking about for Wheaton's annual revenue in 2025. A figure like that doesn't just turn a few heads, it completely rewrites the company's own records and puts the entire precious metals industry on notice. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. The company's own CEO, Randy Smallwood, lays it out perfectly. He talks about their high-quality, long-life assets. This wasn't some lucky break. It was a very deliberate strategy, and in 2025, it was firing on all cylinders.
So let's get into it. What was the engine behind this absolutely incredible financial performance?
The big question, of course, is how? How does a company pull off this kind of explosive growth? Well, it's not because they just stumbled upon a massive new gold mine. The secret, and it's a really cool one, is in their business model, which is totally different from your typical mining company.
Right, so to really get Wheaton's success, you have to understand their core strategy. It's called precious metals streaming. This is the engine that powers the whole operation, and it's a pretty brilliant concept once you see how it works. So a streaming company like Wheaton, they act more like a very specialized financier than a miner. What they do is they give a mining operator a huge chunk of cash up front. This helps that miner build or expand their mine. And in return for that cash, Wheaton gets a golden ticket, the right to buy a slice of that mine's future production. Here's a simple way to think about it. It's kind of like prepaying for a farm's entire future harvest. But at today's prices, no matter how high the price of crops might go later on, Wheaton provides the capital. They lock in an incredibly low cost. I mean, we're talking just a few $100s an ounce, not thousands. And then they simply profit from the huge margin when they sell at the full market price. They don't do any of the digging. They just secure the product. It's pretty clever.
And this right here really highlights the key advantage. See, a traditional miner carries all the direct risk, the huge operational costs, the equipment breaking down, you name it. Wheaton, on the other hand, gets all the upside when metal prices go up, but without having to take on that direct, hands-on operational burden. It's a much, much lower risk, higher margin way to play the market.
So how does this slick business model actually translate to the bottom line? Well, let's dive into the numbers, because they are something else. Just look at that jump. Revenue went from $1.28 billion in 2024 to over $2.3 billion in 2025. We're talking about an 80% increase in a single year. That is an explosive leap forward by any measure you can think of. And it's not just the revenue. Operating cash flow, that's the actual cash being generated from their normal business, was up 85%. But here is the truly stunning number. Net earnings, pure profit, it jumped by a staggering 178%. That shows it's not just about making more sales. It's about making dramatically more profitable sales, which just proves how powerful that low-cost streaming model really is.
So where is all this money coming from? Well, their focus is crystal clear. 62% from gold and another 36% from silver. Their portfolio is overwhelmingly built on the two most iconic precious metals on the planet. Now, these numbers don't just appear out of thin air, right? They come from real operating mines all over the world. So let's take a look at the specific assets that were the real workhorses of 2025. Wheaton calls its top-performing mines its cornerstone assets, and these are exactly what they sound like, typically large, low-cost, long-life mines in stable parts of the world, the kind of operations that consistently deliver the goods that fuel their financial success. The all-stars of 2025 were some real global powerhouses. You've got the giant Salobo mine in Brazil just hitting new production records. Meanwhile, the Antamina mine in Peru and Peñasquito in Mexico delivered incredibly strong results. And what's really exciting for the future is you see new mines like Blackwater and Goose starting to come online. That creates a really healthy mix of established producers and fresh growth. Look, a record year is fantastic, but in this business, the market is always asking, yeah, but what's next? So let's see how Wheaton plans to keep this incredible momentum going. Even with a leadership change on the horizon, the message from the incoming CEO is loud and clear: accelerate. The focus isn't on slowing down, it's all about building on this successful foundation and blasting into the next phase of growth. And here is the roadmap. The company is forecasting a production increase of nearly 50% by 2030. They're targeting about 1.2 million gold equivalent ounces, which is just a metric they use to combine all their different metals like gold and silver into one number. And this isn't some vague hope. This is a calculated forecast based on the real mines they have in their portfolio. So what's backing up that ambitious forecast? This, only the largest precious metal streaming deal in history. They're dropping $4.3 billion upfront to lock in even more silver from the world-class Antamina mine. A single deal like this acts as a massive anchor for their future growth. It's a huge vote of confidence in their own model. Which, brings us to a really fascinating question. When you see the record revenue, the incredible profit margins, and the kind of future growth they're locking in with these massive deals, you really have to wonder, is the streaming model becoming the smartest way to invest in precious metals? Based on Wheaton's historic year, it's definitely a question worth asking.